Fog grips quiet fields at dawn, then a distant engine screams, and the old world suddenly feels fragile today. In town, lanterns tremble, workers crowd gates, and a bell commands bodies like gears inside steel lungs. A child watches smoke stack higher while wages shrink, and time becomes a coin nobody can refuse. Markets flip from calm to chaos as bread prices rise, and families feel history tightening like a rope. We think progress arrives gently, yet it arrives like a storm, rewriting work, cities, and survival. The question is simple: what force turned farms into factories and people into schedules almost overnight? Follow the clues: coal dust, iron rails, spinning looms, and ledgers counting profits in candlelit rooms. This is not just invention, it is a system built on energy, capital, and control of time. Before the machines, life moved with seasons, and daylight set limits no contract could break. Then one machine proved it could work without rest, and society began reorganizing around it. In villages, hands weave cloth slowly, and each thread carries hours, skill, and pride into every finished piece. A blacksmith's hammer rings, a millstone grinds, and neighbors trade face to face, trusting names. Wealth is stored in animals, grain, and tools, not in distant shares or invisible markets. Travel is hard, news is slow, and most people rarely leave the horizon they were born beneath. Yet demand grows, cities expand, and merchants want more cloth, more metal, more everything. When a slow economy cannot scale, it searches for a shortcut, and shortcuts always have winners. Deep underground, miners cut black coal from stone, dragging ancient sunlight into the living world. Coal burns hotter and longer, feeding furnaces that forge iron, shaping tools, rails, and machines. Heat becomes power when engineers trap steam, turning boiling water into force that pushes pistons. For the first time, motion becomes reliable, repeatable, and indifferent to fatigue, weather, or mood. A river can freeze, a horse can fail, but a steam engine works if coal keeps arriving. Factories rise near fuel and water, brick walls darkening, windows glowing, smoke hanging like permanent clouds. Inside, belts spin overhead, looms clatter, and air fills with dust that settles on hair and lungs. Work divides into small motions, repeated thousands of times, turning skill into rhythm and bodies into parts. Output explodes, costs fall, and markets begin expecting abundance, not scarcity from ordinary people. Merchants stop asking, "Can you make it?" and start asking, "How many can you deliver?" Owners invest, expand, and compete, because scale now rewards capital more than craftsmanship. The factory becomes a new law. The machine sets pace, and the worker follows without negotiation. Time is measured, recorded, and sold until hours feel like property owned by someone else. This is how a technology becomes a society. The rules change, then the people change. People move toward wages like moths to light, leaving fields behind for streets of soot and noise. Towns swell into cities, houses crowd tighter, and alleyways stay damp, shaded by stacked brick walls. Rent rises because space is scarce, and desperation is abundant, waiting at every factory gate. The wage system seems simple, yet it rewires life. Miss work, lose pay, lose rent, lose heat. Families count coins for bread, coal, soap, candles, learning that survival is now monthly arithmetic. Children work not from cruelty, but because margins are thin and hunger does not negotiate. A shift bell replaces sunrise, commanding movement with metal sound, turning humans into scheduled labor. Owners can wait, workers cannot, and that imbalance becomes leverage hiding inside ordinary employment. With density comes risk. Disease spreads faster, accidents multiply, and smoke lingers where lungs must breathe. Progress builds wealth, but it also builds pressure, packed into streets, factories, and crowded rooms. The next clue lies outside the factory. Goods must move, or production becomes useless piles of inventory. Canals carve through countryside, turning water into highways for heavy cargo, cheaper than carts. Then rail lines arrive, iron stitched across land, shrinking distance and speeding trade beyond imagination. A city can eat food grown far away, and a village can sell beyond its own market square. But connection creates choke points. One bridge, one depot, one schedule can decide who profits today. When transport controls arrival time, it controls price, because spoilage and delay punish producers first. Merchants learn timing, warehouses learn storage, and gatekeepers learn that access itself is power. The mover begins outgrowing the maker, because distribution chooses winners without owning the product. In counting rooms, ledgers track flows, and capital follows predictability, not compassion or tradition. Factories demand financing, rails demand debt, and banks grow stronger by funding the new machine world. Money becomes quieter, not kings, but contracts, not armies, but ownership, not speeches, but rates. A signature can bind a worker, a tenant, a supplier, turning future labor into collateral. Insurance rises too, pricing risk in calm rooms, while storms and accidents tear through crowded streets. If risk can be measured, it can be sold. And if it can be sold, someone can profit. Meanwhile, the factory keeps humming, and the city keeps growing, because stopping means bankruptcy. Competition pushes owners to squeeze costs, extend hours, and chase efficiency like a religion. Workers organize, protest, and sometimes break machines, because machines are visible targets for invisible decisions. Authorities respond with force and law, trying to keep order while the economy reshapes itself. Yet law evolves too, because transactions scale, and paperwork becomes the skeleton of modern power. The Industrial Revolution is not one event. It is an engine that keeps demanding fuel and people. Look closer at daily life. Markets expand, goods multiply, but prices still swing with shock and rumor. A bad harvest tightens supply, transport delays tighten timing, and merchants raise prices with steady hands. Workers feel it first, because wages lag and food consumes the largest share of their income. A single price board decides dinner, and a single missed shift decides rent, creating constant quiet fear. In crowded rooms, people share air, and outbreaks move like fire through dry timber and breath. Public health becomes an economic issue because sickness removes labor, and labor is the new currency. Reformers argue for sanitation. Shorter hours, safer machines, but owners calculate cost before morality. The city becomes a bargain, opportunity exchanged for smoke, crowding, and dependence on wages. Some rise quickly, opening shops, trading goods, investing profits, building a middle class of motion. Many remain trapped because the system rewards those who control assets, not those who sell time. Scale changes everything. Factories can undercut workshops, pushing crafts into extinction through price alone. When an old craft dies, a family loses identity and must accept wage labor to survive. The machine produces cheap goods, but it also produces unemployment, as fewer hands do more output. Productivity sounds like progress, until you are the worker replaced, standing outside a gate in rain. The wealth created by machines concentrates, because ownership of machines concentrates following capital like magnetism. Banks lend to stable giants, not fragile workshops, and credit becomes another lever of consolidation. Rail routes favor volume customers, warehouses favor steady contracts, and small sellers face hidden disadvantages. Over time, free markets look less free because access is filtered through gates, schedules, and fees. The economy becomes faster, but also more brittle because more lives depend on uninterrupted flow. And when flow breaks, panic spreads because people no longer have seasons, they have payroll. Yet humans adapt, unions form, cooperatives appear, mutual aid grows, trying to balance leverage with solidarity. Communities build rules, strike funds, shared kitchens, learning that survival requires organization, not only effort. Owners respond with new tactics, blacklists, private security, wage cuts, and replacement workers shipped in. Conflict hardens both sides because each believes the other threatens survival, not just profit. Governments face a choice: protect property, protect labor, or protect stability, often choosing in silence. Regulation begins slowly, like a hand on a brake, trying to slow a machine already accelerating. Meanwhile, inventions continue: better engines, better steel, faster rails, bigger ships. expanding the system again. The world becomes connected, and connection spreads ideas, goods, and also crises across borders. A shortage in one region raises prices elsewhere, teaching everyone that markets are now linked chains. For the first time, ordinary families feel global forces at their kitchen tables, without knowing the causes. Consider the worker's day: wake before light, march to the bell, repeat motions, return exhausted to damp rooms. Consider the owner's day: meet lenders, buy coal, manage contracts, watch demand, and calculate margins relentlessly. Both live inside the same machine, yet only one controls the switches, the schedule, and the money. Markets reward predictability, so owners chase standardization, turning messy reality into repeatable profit. Standardized parts, standardized wages, standardized time, until human life resembles a ledger column. But reality resists. Accidents, strikes, sickness, storms, and wars interrupt flow and expose system fragility. Each interruption becomes a lesson, because in a connected economy, shocks travel faster than recovery. People begin to understand wealth is not only production, it is also control of distribution and credit. A mill needs grain, a factory needs coal, a city needs food, and every link can be taxed. Whoever owns the link can charge for passage, and passage decides whether families eat or starve. In ports, ships unload cargo like lifeblood, and docks become chokepoints, where delays ripple across markets. In depots, clerks choose priority, and priority becomes profit, while waiting becomes loss disguised as time. In warehouses, storage fees quietly rise, and a key ring becomes as powerful as a plow. In offices, map pins move and routes shift, reshaping who can sell, who can buy, who can live. This is the new battlefield. Not fields, but infrastructure. Not swords, but schedules. Not speeches, but rates. The Industrial Revolution teaches a harsh truth. Control often hides in boring paperwork and quiet rooms. The richer the system becomes, the more it relies on invisible coordination, and invisible coordination rewards gatekeepers. Yet the system also raises living standards over time, because mass production eventually lowers costs of basics. The tragedy is timing. Improvement arrives after generations endure smoke, crowding, and instability first. History moves forward, but it moves through people, and people pay the price before they see rewards. Look at the landscape now. Rails cross fields, factories line rivers, and cities glow where villages once slept. The old economy did not vanish. It was absorbed, connected, and transformed into supply chains and wage markets. Farmers sell into distant markets, workers buy factory goods, and everyone becomes dependent on transport stability. Crises become more dramatic because the system is larger, faster, and more tightly coupled. That coupling creates modern growth and modern risk, two sides of the same spinning wheel. Reform keeps evolving: safety rules, sanitation, education, labor rights, each a slow correction to rapid change. Meanwhile, capitalism matures, with banks, insurers, and markets expanding to manage risks machines created. Managing risk becomes its own industry, because volatility is profitable if you can predict it. Those who understand systems rise, those who only feel outcomes struggle, and inequality becomes a recurring shadow. The story is not simple good or evil. It is a transformation, powered by incentives and human limits. By now, the mystery is solved. Coal and steam enabled constant production, but constant production demanded new social rules. Those rules centered on time, wages, transport, and capital, shaping cities, families, and the modern workday. The factory did not only make goods, it made schedules, discipline, and dependence, scaled across millions. The rail did not only move cargo, it moved prices, power, and the boundaries of markets. The bank did not only lend money, it decided who could expand, who could fail, who could survive. And the city became the arena where these forces collided, because density amplifies both opportunity and danger. When people demanded change, institutions responded slowly, because systems resist losing control once gained. Still, each backlash left a mark. pushing society towards safer work, cleaner streets, and broader education. Progress, then, is negotiation between human dignity and economic incentive, fought in courts and streets. The Industrial Revolution is the first modern negotiation, and its compromises still shape life today. Walk through a modern city and you still see its blueprint. Factories replaced by offices, but time still rules. Supply chains remain arteries, and when they clog, prices spike, shelves empty, and panic returns quickly. The same logic remains. Whoever controls bottlenecks can charge rent even without owning the product. Innovation keeps accelerating, but communities still demand protection, fairness, and stability as costs rise. Today's debates echo old smoke: wages, working hours, safety, and the price of housing near opportunity. We call it modern life, but it began when steam made work constant and cities became machines. The lesson is not to fear technology, it is to understand incentives and design rules that protect people. Because without rules, leverage concentrates, and concentrated leverage turns ordinary life into a schedule of survival. Every generation inherits a system, then decides whether it serves humanity or only the owners of switches. History shows both outcomes are possible, depending on who controls capital, law, and the flow of goods. In the final images, return to the motifs: fog fields, factory smoke, ticking clocks, and crowded streets under gaslight. Show hands-on tools, hands-on coins, hands-on levers, because history is built by repeated small motions. Show maps with routes and pins, because connection is power, and power moves through infrastructure. Show the shift bell, because time became the new master, and the bell never truly stopped ringing. Show coal and steam, because energy is the hidden input behind every modern economy, from factories to cities. Show markets and price boards, because the industrial world priced life differently, tying dinner to distant decisions. Show the city skyline breathing smoke, because growth has a cost, and someone always pays first. End where we began, the quiet field, the arriving engine, the moment the world accelerated beyond human pace. The Industrial Revolution changed everything, not by one invention, but by building a system that never sleeps. And once a system runs without rest, society must choose: serve the machine or make the machine serve us.